We have been watching the state funeral for former U.S. President Jimmy Carter today. It wrapped up just moments ago, and these are some of the images of his casket leaving the cathedral where the service took place this morning. His final procession will head to rural Georgia. And the CBC's Paul Hunter joins me now with more from Washington's National Cathedral. Paul, the eulogy at Carter's personal request was delivered by U.S. President Joe Biden. What did we hear?
Hey, Arthi. Consider some of the words we heard throughout the service to describe Jimmy Carter. Purpose, public service, hope, dignity, generosity, respect. Words such as those and words like those were used throughout this service for Carter. And consider as well the multitude of ways that Carter was described in terms of the things that he did in his life. A naval submariner, nuclear engineer, Sunday school teacher, peanut farmer, governor, human rights activist, peace activist, climate change activist, gender rights activist, husband, father, grandfather, and of course, president. Indeed, he asked the current president, Joe Biden, to eulogize him at this service. He and Biden were friends for many decades. I want to play a clip from Joe Biden. We'll play another clip later, but let's hear first from Joe Biden as a part of his eulogy for Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter's friendship taught me, and through his life taught me, the strength of character is more than title or the power we hold. It's the strength to understand that everyone should be treated with dignity, respect, that everyone, and I mean everyone, deserves an even shot. Not a guarantee, but just a shot.
There were a number of other speakers, of course, including readings from two people that were a big part of Jimmy Carter's life. One of them was Gerald Ford, former president who Carter defeated, who before Ford died, Ford wrote a reading to be read at Carter's funeral. Also, similarly, a reading from Walter Mondale, who was Carter's vice president. But as well, we heard a lot about the kind of regular guy that Carter was, the sort of real person that he, that pretty much everybody said he maintained throughout his life. That was one of the many facets of Jimmy Carter. One of Carter's grandsons stood up to give us a little taste of that, and some of this brought a few laughs. Let's give a listen to this.
Eventually, he did get a cell phone, and one time he called me sort of early on in that process. And on my phone, it said, "Papa Mobile." So I answered it, of course. I said, "Hey, Papa." He said, "Who's this?" I said, "This is Jason." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing anything. You called me." He said, "I didn't call you. I'm taking a picture." It was nuclear engineer, right? I mean.
Nuclear engineer. Point was also made that he only spent 4 years of his life here in Washington. The other 96, effectively speaking, would have been in Georgia. And it is to Georgia that the remains of Jimmy Carter are now headed, where he will be interred at a later ceremony.
And of course, also, Paul, of note is the fact that 5 living presidents were in attendance at the funeral today. And that also includes other world leaders, including, of course, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President-elect Donald Trump. We know that there's been a bit of a contentious relationship as of late. Wondering whether or not there was any interaction there, or what you might have been watching for.
Yeah, well, certainly all Canadian eyes were on those two, if there were to be any interaction. We were watching carefully. We noticed Donald Trump and Barack Obama having a not short conversation at some point. There was no indication that Trump and Trudeau shared any time. We had reached out to the Prime Minister's office to find out if there would be an attempt at that. and or if it was successful. We have not heard back. We know that Justin Trudeau got here last night. He's going to be meeting with U.S. business leaders later today. But as far as we can tell, regards to the 51st state business that has made headlines for the last several weeks, there was no interaction, as far as we know, between Trudeau and Trump.
Thanks again for this, Paul. We appreciate your reporting. That is the CBC's Paul Hunter at Washington's National Cathedral.